Did you hear what just happened in the country of Chile that sent shockwaves across the financial markets? No, probably not. The Western media, of course, hiding that from you. We'll get to that in a minute. Did you hear what Africa just did to the United States dollar? No, probably not. The Western media is also hiding that from you. Did you see what Russia just did to the United States hegemony at their huge conference in St. Petersburg with more than 20 African nations attending? They said, no more American dollar. Enough is enough. No, you didn't see that on CNN because the entire American media infrastructure is corrupt and only concerned with one story, the indictment of Donald Trump.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating in a conspiracy to obstruct justice.
We are witnessing the greatest financial upheaval in almost 100 years, and they care more about Trump having a box of documents in his house. What about the classified documents in Biden's garage next to his Corvette?
And by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage, okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
Shut up, don't ask any questions. You're not allowed to ask any questions because it's all a distraction from what's really happening. The Western media is pretending that everything is fine, but it's not. Almost zero coverage of what I'm about to show you. The unipolar order, dominated for decades by the United States, is crumbling right before our very eyes. And let me tell you, it's not just some abstract concept, something that's being written on white papers. No, it has real consequences right now for every American who has money in a bank or is concerned about their family's future. First, let's talk about Africa. Something astonishing happened this week. Kenyan President William Samoei Ruto speaking to Parliament, announcing that Kenya would start trading in local currencies and not in the US dollar as they have been doing for decades. Holy smokes. The cracks are forming. Watch the standing ovation that he received from this speech.
From Djibouti, selling to Kenya, or traders from Kenya selling to Djibouti, have to look for US dollars. How is US dollars part of the trade between Djibouti and Kenya? Why? And we are not against the US dollar. We just want to trade much more freely. Let us pay in US dollars what we are buying from the US. But what we are buying from Djibouti, let's use local currency.
For far too long, the vibrant and resource-rich continent of Africa has been tethered to the United States dollar. But guess what? Africa is waking up, and it's moving away from the dollar faster than you can say economic independence. They have been kept under the thumb of the West for centuries. African nations are now suddenly embracing regional integration. They're neighbors, seeking to reduce their dependence on external currencies. Goodbye, US dollar. And just this week, a Zambian politician spoke about how the West has been exploiting and raping Africa for centuries. And Africa is now demanding autonomy. They feel that Russia and China are trusted partners in that endeavor.
Just a few months ago, we had a democracy summit in Zambia where it was basically a Western and a US-led conference to draw back cooperation with both China and Russia for the African continent. They want to always dictate to us who our friends should be, who Africa should cooperate with. And they're willing to topple governments, to assassinate our leaders for this.
Wait a second. Is that fake news, what she just said? The United States has been toppling governments in Africa in order to exploit them? Really? That sounds fake. I didn't hear about that on Anderson Cooper's show on CNN. Oh, wait. Yes, it's 100% true. In fact, the list is even too long to count. But here's just one example. This is Patrice Lumumba. He was the first prime minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he was that leader for about 4 months, from June until September 1960, before he was killed by the West. Yes, the West assassinated him. Do you know what nefarious things he did to deserve to be killed by the West? Well, he was elected on a platform of keeping Congo's minerals and commodities for itself, instead of having them raped by the West. He even told the Western governments, he said, quote, "We are no longer your monkeys." Yes, he said that. He told the West to get out of his country, get out of our mines, get away from our minerals. These are our minerals. The West shook its collective head and said, "We hear you. Yeah, we hear you." But they didn't leave. The Western powers stayed in his mines. He begged the United Nations for help on top of it. They ignored him. Then Congo went to the Soviet Union for help. And guess what? The moment that happened, the CIA swooped in and helped assassinate him. along with the Belgians who were occupying the mines in the Congo. They worked together and took him out. So see how this works? Then the United States installed a puppet government, and the rest is Congo history. I could go on in Egypt and Somalia and Sudan. We'd be here all day. So is it any surprise that unipolar order is crumbling? The bullies are getting bullied themselves? Africa is watching international support moving away from America to China and Russia, and they are making a decision. They want to keep their sovereignty. They want to keep their own minerals, their own resources. Now, that very same politician from Zambia says, we're tired of being exploited. Akende Mamembe Chundama is her name. She says Africa has learned its lesson and is looking elsewhere for support.
Africa is a hub for natural resources. It has always been for the West. And now Africa has multiple options. Africa doesn't have to succumb to a bad deal that we get from the Western countries. Africa has choice now. We're moving to a multipolar world, and it's very clear that Africa now has many options. Cooperation with the West is not our only option. BRICS is opening doors for the African continent to say that even when it comes to financing, when it comes to infrastructure development, when it comes to a future for Africa, we've got different options today. So this doesn't sit well with the West.
But perhaps the biggest lightning bolt came from the country of Chile, which sits on a mountain of resources, particularly lithium, which is needed for just about every rechargeable battery-powered vehicle in the world and pretty much everything we're currently using in the year 2023 and beyond. Chile has the largest reserves of lithium in the world, and they've been exploited for years. Not anymore. The government announced the nationalization of their lithium production. They took control of it, and they took it out of the hands of Western governments that were looking to exploit it. The price of lithium then skyrocketed as a result. Chile is doing what Africa is doing. The tug of war between the East and the West is real. And it used to be just the United States dollar, so it was an easy pick. You just went along with the United States because there was no other player in town. Not anymore. Now there are multiple players and multiple choices. Chile's nationalization of the lithium market marks one of the biggest events in the deglobalization resource commodities wars since they were underway, because countries do not want to sell their natural minerals for low prices in exchange for American protection. Hey, we'll sell you our minerals for cheap, but you've got our back. Your weapons, right? That's what the United States does. We'll protect you with our weapons. Now countries have a choice. Stay with the people that assassinate their leaders, exploited their minerals, force them to use a US dollar to settle transactions, or the alternative. And right now they're choosing the alternative. So will they get screwed over again by the alternative? Well, time, of course, will be the ultimate truth teller in that. And we will see whether the alternative is any better than the Western governments that have exploited them for decades. So that's the news update part of the video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to the demand for lithium worldwide. And that company is Lithium One Metals. Now, as Chile nationalizes its lithium and takes control, North America right now is scrambling to produce their own lithium. And Lithium One Metals has a promising lithium project in Quebec, which is quickly becoming the #1 hub for lithium mining in North America. You see, the Biden administration passed something called the Inflation Reduction Act, which we all know was a joke, right? It doesn't actually decrease inflation at all, but what it does is actually carves out billions of dollars for green energy companies to install solar, batteries, charging stations, and all manner of green energy components. And it gives billions of dollars to companies that can build this green infrastructure in the United States and also Canada.
Canada's approach has been to work with friendly nations to develop supply chains. Of course, the U.S. is the leading partner. We're hearing now that the U.S. has actually been approaching Ontario mining companies to discuss a possible investment. Of course, they're anxious, the Americans, to secure supplies of crucial minerals such as lithium.
Yes, right now there is only one lithium mine in the United States. That's it. There's only one near-term lithium mine in Canada, featured on the news last month.
For now, preparations are underway. But this time next year, this site could be one of the only productive lithium mines in North America.
That's insane. And the company that I'm talking about is about to start drilling right there in Canada in these highly sought after regions that she was just talking about. Lithium One Metals has a ticker symbol of LOMEF, and it's trading at a very cheap 34 cents a share right now. Now, over the past month,